That smile. Oh my goodness. It's a almost dreary Wednesday afternoon here in Kansas City. I looked out. We can't tell is it going to rain or not. There's dots out there, whatever. It doesn't matter because in here it's beautiful and it's comfortable. Welcome. Welcome to Tea Time with TerryAnn. I am TerryAnn Porter, life coach, TA. I've got my cup of tea here today. Today it is a strawberry green tea. I don't even know where I got it from. All I know is I'm enjoying it. I did put a little bit of sugar in there, to add to my sweet personality. I'm so glad you're here today. I have my tiara on. Always got that tiara to remind me I am worthy. I am a princess. I am a child of God. When I try to forget that, my husband reminds me, go put your tiara on for a little while. I think you need it. Well, today I am so excited to introduce to you a friend of mine. Now, I don't recall if we met in person. I'm trying to think back, but I'm going to blame that on getting older. I don't remember, but I have been with her on numerous Zoom calls, and I've watched her personal broadcasts live and on replay. I can just keep her going all day long. No matter when or where you see her, that infectious smile and her welcome personality will definitely put you immediately at ease. You can find her all over the internet. On Mondays, she and friend Laura Christine do Doc and Queenie. Hey, you've got to check this out. And then, if that's not enough, she goes on every Wednesday with excellent words of wisdom. I tell you what, she's had some really wise words. You'll find her hosting numerous posting parties. You don't know how to post? Hey, follow along with Cathy and you'll find out. Numerous networking events through the Happy Network Project. She is the networking queen. She has 2 books. Networking on steroids. And then if that wasn't enough, once we had the COVID shutdown and everything, she updated it with Networking on Steroids PQ, post-quarantine. Don't have the books, but you want to know what they say? Check her YouTube. She has read these books. You don't even have to buy it. Just go listen to her read it to you. Along the way, Cathy has experienced life. And life as we know it doesn't always go as planned. Cathy chose to share her journey of grief and loss and survivorship with the world with her book, He Hit the Clouds Running. This was prompted by one of her life coaches, published in 2017, and is also available on her YouTube. If you have not turned the death of a loved one into a topic of homecoming yet, our discussion today may be the best connection that you have made all week. Please lift your cup of tea and help me to welcome my friend, Cathy Weaver. Oh, Cathy, thank you so much. I am so excited you're here today with me.
I am so happy that you are recording that intro because I'm going to use that over and over and over and over again. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate that. And forgive me, mine is not a cup, it's a water bottle. So,
Well, your cup is coming. I'm, a little delay in getting it there, but you've got a cup coming.
I appreciate that very much. And I really do appreciate being here because, as you mentioned, death is one of those topics that most people don't like to talk about. And as soon as I was realizing that, hello, it's just a part of life, and my coach prompted me to write my experiences, and I thought, who would read it? And she looked right at me and she said, that's not your problem. And I thought, wow. And so 4 months later, I handed her the first copy, and here we are.
Oh, wow. I tell you what, I have listened to it. And what I really enjoyed about it by listening to it on your YouTube channel is that I then had the opportunity to hear your voice, your emotions, your reflections. And that just added so much to the story. I just felt like we were sitting across from the table with our tea and just sharing a story back and forth with the way that you told your story.
it is amazing to me when I use the book as a starter for the conversation, how
Hmm.
people have death journey experiences, grief journey experiences. And then as soon as I say something about he hit the clouds running and never looked back, they instantly say, "Oh, I've got the death of," and they start and they tell me the story. And then of course, rather than leave it hang there, I always say, "How did that person die?" And the people, if we are in a room with several people, the other ones look at me like, "Shh, you're not supposed to ask that." And of course, the person I asked it of is literally going, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked that question." Most people want to share the steps and the topic, and they don't have a platform yet. So I'm thrilled that my book has broached the subject for many of us.
What are some comments that you've gotten from people who have read the book?
I appreciate someone understands. That's always a biggie. That is the competition piece. My loss is way bigger than yours. My pain is way worse than yours. All the deaths I've experienced are way more awful than yours. And my friends, in my personal opinion, this is not this is not a competition. And it is something that we all will experience, being here on the earth and then not being on the earth anymore. This is just literally a part of life. And until I experienced the death of so many loved ones, I did not talk about it either. And
Hmm.
I have heard so many people say things like, "I'm sorry for your loss." Well, I appreciate the sentiment, but I did not lose them. They died. And if I lost them, I could find them again. And I don't have that option. And so I flipped it to be a little more maybe personal, but also emphatic on the topic of, may someday those tears bring a smile, and different things like that, because then people understand that you know how sad they are. And then I love when people say, "Well, it's been a year. Aren't you done with this topic?" And I always think, huh, and that's always my clue. They have not experienced a large death yet.
Hmm. Hmm. Now you commented that you against the words "I'm sorry for your loss." What are some other things that you recommend people say at that time when they are with somebody who's newly grieving?
Well, I'm not against it. I just don't find it helpful. And I know it's cliche. And
Hmm.
so that's why the loss piece, again, I didn't lose them, they died. That's when I say things like, "May your memories bring you comfort." What is your favorite picture of your loved one? What is your favorite memory of the two of you? And causing them or allowing them to speak is usually therapeutic, I have found. And instead of going, "Shh, if you don't talk about it, maybe she'll forget." And so that's always a surprise to me. But again, think about the people who are watching this right now. And again,
Hmm.
thank you so much for having me here on Tea Time, because I really appreciate the platform and the opportunity. The biggest piece is, if people are watching this and going, "Oh no, it's about death," and click off, they're going to watch the replay or your YouTube channel video in the privacy of their own homes, in the comfort of their own living room or bedroom. And instantly, it's going to be a trigger, perhaps, at bringing back some of their memories. And one of the things I share in my book is, once you have read it or listened to the YouTube channel playlist, I feel that you have earned your PhD, DD, which is personally having dealt with death degree.
I love that.
Oh my God. And as soon as that came to my mind when I was writing the book, once we've experienced anything, you experience a health challenge. And now you don't have the health challenge anymore. You want to share it with the world that I accomplished my something, and now I don't have my something. And everybody's so excited to share that. Well, once you've experienced the death of a loved one, now every time you see, and I always am blown away by people putting all this on social media, but as soon as you see someone just posted, "My somebody died," or "My this died," or whatever that is, I instantly look at that and realize I know the pain that they're going through, and I might be exactly that shoulder or at least that ear that they can share. And not immediately. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
drill thing, but as soon as, a couple weeks, a couple months, perhaps even a couple years. And that is always a funny thing to me. The second anniversary, the fifth anniversary, the 10th anniversary, the 20th anniversary. And people don't usually tell you ahead of time that once you hit that first year mark, you should be finished. What? But many times the second and third and even subsequent years are worse as far as
Mm-hmm.
because that person really is gone. That person really isn't coming back. And the people who were around you during the grief journey initially have certainly moved on, and they figure you have too.
Right.
And so that's always a challenge. And that's why with close in friends, I have said things like, well, your year's up. How you doing? And they go, I am just terrific. So it's an uncomfortable topic, and I do
Mm-hmm.
hope that my book serves as a little bit of a segue into keeping the conversation rolling and flipping it to homecoming instead of, oh my gosh, another person died. Homecoming, oh my gosh, another person died. And that is the intent of the book for sure. Instead of, oh no, I can't believe how sad and awful and miserable and depressing this is. Guess what? You get to know not only how your person that you love so much gets to go home to be with Jesus, that piece of your, how are they going to die? When are they going to die? Those kind of things. A lot of people think about that, right? Quite frankly, they think in terms
Mm-hmm.
of, oh my gosh, heart attack, cancer, car crash, whatever that looks like. We're not getting out of this alive. And the people who have gone before us and they are home with Jesus, it can be a comfort. And I'm very, very surprised that a lot of times it's a shock. Absolutely. Instant death is tough. Lingered death, as I call it, is tough.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not in charge. Guess what? We're not in charge.
Oh, that hurts. What do you mean I'm not in charge?
I'm sorry to break that to you.
Oh my gosh. I was just thinking as you said that cancer, car crash, heart attack, I've had all of those losses.
Yes.
And I do find, when people hear about having a loss, they shy away. They don't know what to say. Do you have some suggestions on what not to say?
I was surprised when one of my acquaintances, very kind, sweet lady, acquaintances, read my book and fought with me afterwards. And I'm always intrigued by that. And so rather than say, you're wrong, oh my gosh, I said, that's an interesting concept. Tell me about that. So I have put things on my book topic, what to say and what not to say when someone has died. Honey, there's plenty of fish in the sea. You'll find another husband. And then, of course, they say to my son, you're the man of the house now. At 12 years old, there's all kinds of things that people mean well. And when I put on one of my cards, please, no peace lilies, no chocolate cake, no ham. Because quite frankly, for my experience, the last thing you want to do is eat. And the rest of that story is my house looked like an actual florist shop
Mm-hmm.
with several of the deaths I've experienced. And I thought, get these peace lilies out of here. A, I do not have a green thumb. And B, that's just one more constant reminder. It's not a comfort for me. Some people might love that, but it's not a comfort for me. And so luckily I had a friend who was aware of my discomfort with all those peace lilies. And she took plants to just about every nursing home in Kansas City, I think. They're usually quite receptive, like, thank you so much. And I was like, please get them out of here. So there's just such an interesting concept with that. But the lady that fought with me about the ham and chocolate cake and the peace lilies, she said, this is the best thing in the world. My friends brought me wine and I was so grateful. And I'm like, well, if that works for you, sister, then hallelujah. But please don't bring me chocolate cake or ham. I don't want to see either one of those ever again.
I can understand that.
Yeah, but she was adamant that I was absolutely wrong about my suggestion. And Again, these are my opinions. I am certainly not an expert from a standpoint of therapy, but I am a expert when it comes to experience, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But she definitely loves chocolate cake. I'll give everyone her address if you'd like. And apparently she likes wine, and she definitely likes them. So there you go.
So I guess part of that is, what does the person want or need? And
Absolutely.
not everyone is going to want or need the same thing.
Mm-mm. Can you imagine, and just think for a second, someone in your life has suffered the death of a loved one, is suffering the death of a loved one. So what do we say at the funeral? We're going through the grief line and we're hugging everybody. And we say to the grieving widow or grieving mom or grieving dad or grieving kid or whatever that is, call me if you need anything. And you are going to say, oh, thank you so much. Do they hand you a business card with their information on it? Mm-mm, usually. Call me if you need anything. Gets them off the hook. I offered, she never called.
Right.
Oh, then she must not need anything. Excellent. So one thing that I have had done for me, which is nice, which was a pay it forward. I'm coming over Tuesday at 11:30, and depending upon how you're feeling, we're going out to lunch. You get to pick the place, or I will, your choice. And I just wanted to let you know we can run errands on the way, before or after. I'll do all the hopping in and out of the locations, but that'll be Tuesday at 11:30. Does that work for you? That's it. Most of the time, when you've got everything scheduled, planned, etc., they are grateful that they don't have to think of one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, they don't want to make a choice. Many times, you can't even decide whether to sit up or lay down at any certain given moment. And now you're saying, where do you want to go for lunch? Oh my gosh, overwhelmed. I'll decide, unless you have a favorite spot you'd like to go. And at the very last minute, for those of us instigating the chat, the visit, the luncheon, please understand flexibility, because the griever, the grief-stricken person, will most likely, possibly change their mind in a split second. I can't handle this today. I can't do this. And the answer to that is, fantastic. I'll call you next Tuesday and we'll see how that works. Is Friday a better day? That way the person grieving knows that the person helping with that grief really means it. Call me if you need anything. Oh my gosh. And how many times do we hear that? People mean well, and I understand that. But those of us who have been through a grief journey usually know a little bit differently how to phrase it so that it will actually happen.
One thing that I heard was, "Hey, I'm running to the store. Could I pick you up a gallon of milk or something else? What do you need? I'm going there anyway. I'll bring it by to you." No decision made. Well, okay, I'm out of milk too, and I don't have any bread for a sandwich. Okay, I'll pick it up for you. I'll bring it by when I'm finished. Something as simple as that.
And believe me, the person grieving never forgets that. Everything
Absolutely.
else is death fog and brain fog and
Hmm.
decision-making fog, but they will never forget that piece of bread, that loaf of bread, that gallon of milk, whatever that is. Can you get me a Starbucks latte, please? And this is the flavor, this is the something, this is the whatever, but I absolutely cannot face that drive-through by myself. Got it. Be
Hmm.
specific, send it to me in text. It is yours in 5 minutes. And those are the kinds of things that people grieving are afraid or perhaps hesitant to ask for. But those of us wanting to help while they're going through the initial stages of their journey, it's a segue. It's an
Hmm.
icebreaker. And what do you want to talk about today? What do you think I want to talk about? And so those are the opportunities that we have, those of us who have gone through grief before. These are the opportunities to say, this is all you. 2 ears, mouth closed, it's all you. How did you feel when? What happens if? Now, I have a great big word, TerryAnn, And it's probably the worst word ever when it comes to a death topic, in my opinion.
And what's that word?
It starts with an R, and I have shared with many different groups. I get to speak on this topic a lot, if you can imagine. Please, please, please don't think about regret. I regret I didn't this.
Oh,
I regret I didn't that. I regret I should have this. I regret I should have that. The R word tears people up. I don't know about you, but I have absolutely zero control, zero, over life and death. But I know who does. And if we live each day with no regret, now it's not totally possible because, gosh, I wish I would have this or I wish I would have that. But when it comes to the grief journey and the hospice process and the sickly pieces of our loved one, if they are going slowly, now instant death is a different deal. That is a great big shocker, great big yikes, all of those things. But the no regret piece is huge. So I always share, if you're able to live with no regrets, I wish I wouldn't have said that. I wish I wouldn't have done that. Okay, great. Let's work the regret word out of your vocabulary. You can't fix it. You can't
mhm.
go back and change it. You can't unsay it, delete a text. So please think about the regret word. If you don't want to have regrets when the people around you are dying or have died, then see what you can do to prevent the R word. Huge message for me. Don't live with regret.
I love that.
It's a hard place to be, I will say.
I love that. Don't live with the regret. That's great. Let me put up this last slide. You've been really good at what to say when a loved one has died. I think you mentioned all of them
Yes,
and what not to say.
yes.
You have that is so amazing. And I think part of this is you are giving people permission to say the right thing. And quite honestly, especially if you've really never been through a death, then you really don't know and you don't know what the person feels. I was 37 years old when I was widowed. And I know after that, I would tell people about different things that happened. They say, oh, no, that really didn't happen. People don't do that. People don't say that until they went through a death themselves. And then it was, you wouldn't believe. Oh, yes, I would.
Yes.
It really is something that until you experience, it really is hard to even comprehend the depth of what's going on. This is a part of your book. I wanted to definitely be sure to share it.
I appreciate that so much. And it's back to that same thing. Once again, these are my opinions, not, of course, fact, as far as strategy for other people. But what has been effective for me, I had a person in my life who was diagnosed with cancer. And 17 months later, he died. In between that was a stroke and several other things, debilitating, et cetera, and hospice. So many times people, shh, don't tell him this is the end, or shh, don't talk about that, or don't whatever. So, of course, I said, is there anyone that you would like to see as you are on your journey to go home with Jesus? And of course, at this point, tears. But the answer was, oh, yes, I need to talk to whoever it is. So, of course, I called the person and I said, we're on our last few weeks, most likely. I don't control life or death at all.
Mm-hmm.
I said, according to the hospice team and the caregivers here at the nursing facility, we're on our last few weeks. So if you would like to see this person, this would be a great time to do that. So, of course, I hooked it up and everybody was like, wow. The person attending, you could tell, was so uncomfortable. But the person who was on his way home was literally like, I need to tell you this, this, and this. I need to ask you this, this, and this. And it was a very peaceful bonding time for the two of them. And if I had not said, who would you like to see? what would you like to do in these final days? And then, of course, I took it one step further and I said, what music would you like to have played at your service? Again, tears, of course. But the biggest thing is, oh my gosh, I get to pick. And I said, well, since you're here and we know you get to go home with Jesus pretty soon, you do get to pick. And so it was a wonderful bonding time because the prognosis was not survival.
Mm-hmm.
And so why would we survivors avoid the topic? It's rough. Absolutely. Who would you like to see and what music would you like to play at your service? And who would you like me to call upon your passing? Do you want anyone to be here as you go home? And all of these are uncomfortable topics, but I'm promising you that has helped 1,000,000% with no regret. Oh my gosh, I should have this. Oh my gosh, I should have that. I should have called. I should have this. I should have something. None of that. And it's very incredible, the weight that is lifted off your shoulders. It's no fun. The brain fog, the death fog, as I call it, the grief buffet is always one of my interesting things. You are shoving food at people who are in absolutely no mood to eat, usually. It's back to that same thing. We are able to help someone else go through it because we've already done it.
Right.
And at the time that we're going to go through it again, most likely all of us will, the longer we live, it's back to that same drill. If we earn our PhD, DD, we're able to help someone else. And I love that piece of my journey.
How wonderful. I don't remember if it was during a conversation we had or it was during the reading of your book, you mentioned somebody coming and saying, oh, but you didn't include this, you didn't include that. And I loved when your response was, well, this is my story. That's your story. Hey, tell your story.
Yeah, don't bring me any hammered chocolate cake. I love hammered chocolate cake. Oh my gosh, I find it interesting they want to fight about things like that. As soon as I write your book, I'll get to see what your journey
So,
looks like.
yes, everybody's journey is different. I got to tell you, just because I have the public platform to do this, I am going to do this.
Okay.
Men, when you are walking through that line and that woman is standing there newly widowed, handing her your card and saying, here's my cell number. Now, don't call the home number call my cell number. I'll be there anytime, day or night that you want me there. Don't do that. Oh, that feels so good to get off my chest.
Can you actually imagine that grieving widow would actually go through with that? And
I tell you what, at that time, I got 3 cards, and 2 of the men I did not know.
oh my gosh.
So I wanted this public platform to go ahead and get my 2 cents out there.
I'm so glad that feels better for you. Absolutely.
Oh, that feels so good to get that out now. Thank you.
Now, I do want to add before we close, and again, thank you for having me on your show because I love being able to talk about a subject that no one wants to talk about. There is no, at least not that I have experienced, there is no right or wrong way. There is no time frame consistently. The more deaths you experience, the time frame is different for each. The time topic is different for each. The process is similar. There are threads, but today you're fabulous. Tomorrow you're in bed. The next day is amazing. The next day you can't move. The next day you can actually eat a whole meal. The rest of the time for the rest of that week, you can't even be in the kitchen. And there's just no right or wrong way. And there is no time frame.
Absolutely.
So my only message, please be gentle with yourself.
Oh, I love that. That gives me one more real quick reminder I want to throw out there. I heard it said, for example, if you work in a corporate office and you've been through this, now you're back at work. Have some kind of a signal to let people know, I'm not doing well today. Just let me work and don't talk to me. It might be that you're going to put a Post-it note of a particular color on your door or at the end of your desk if you're in a cubby. Just some little sign so you don't have to say it because you don't want to say it out loud. Just, you know what? This is not the day for it. Put out your little symbol, whatever, and let people know this isn't the day to talk to me. Just let me do my job. Let me focus here because I cannot focus there. Just any kind of little things that you can do to help that grieving person and understand what their emotions are.
Sometimes one foot in front of the other is the best you can do for that day.
Absolutely. Oh, thank Cathy. I have been just so excited that you're here. We've had a couple people watching and commenting, and I think the last one I saw was that you are an excellent guide through this, and it's been very helpful. It is a topic that people don't like to talk about, but it's a topic that people need to know about, and they need to know it's okay to talk about it. If you want to contact Cathy, check her out on LinkedIn. And if you would love to hear her book and then contact her about purchasing that book, check out her YouTube. She reads it on her YouTube, and she is an excellent reader. And I tell you what, like I said earlier, it's just like we're sitting across from the table and she's telling me this story. Very enjoyable, very easy to follow along. One chapter per video, so you don't even have, take your time with it and get to know Cathy. I want to thank you very much, Cathy, for joining me. It has been a pleasure to have you here.
It is an honor to be on your show, and I mean that with all my heart, because now we have a platform where people can share their grief story. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Join me for our next Tea Time with TerryAnn. And until then, have yourself a terrific day. Bye all.